so many people get caught up watching the reality TV programs and thinking that, oh, hey, I can do this, or I'm going to be able to do that, and will be, I guess, brought down to earth really quickly when you got to find out the first 3 months or even longer of your career. You're scrubbing dishes, or you're cleaning pots, or you're, washing potatoes, or you're chopping vegetables.
Today on Dirty Linen, we are heading to Sydney to talk to young chef Jacob Usher. Jacob is working at Margaret in Double Bay with Neil Perry. He is a Kamilaroi man and he's from Tamworth in New South Wales. I am really keen to catch up with Jacob and see what he's up to. Last time we chatted, it was all around barbecue and his work with his YouTube channel, the Native Barbecue YouTube channel and blog. But Jacob, so good to have the opportunity to talk to you again. Welcome to Dirty Linen.
Dani, thank you for having me. It's such a pleasure to be catching up again. I think it's been about 12 months since our last talk.
Yeah, well, it sounds like you're powering on with your career and your ambitions as a chef. Tell us where things are at for you.
Yeah, just as you mentioned, I've just started a new position and a new role at Margaret in Double Bay, training under Neil Perry and, of course, his much talented team. I've moved, on from where I was at and now working with them in Sydney and finishing up my culinary career. I've got about 6 months left of the school and, be all qualified from then.
Yeah, it's so amazing. So tell us about, what Margaret just won New Restaurant of the Year at the Gourmet Traveller Restaurant Awards, which is incredible. And I think, Neil Perry at 65, I think he is, winning Best New Restaurant. It's just such a testament to his energy and love of the industry. What's it like for you being an apprentice chef and working in this kitchen?
Yeah, look, his list of accomplishments, never ending of what he's done, especially, again, at such a young age. When you're working in that kitchen, you just, you feel it. You feel the energy when you're in there and being guided, not only by himself, but by his other chefs that have also been with him for his journey for a very long time is, I guess, it's almost surreal. Like, you have to pinch your skin a little bit just to, to say, is this really real? But, of course, it's such a pleasure and an opportunity to be a part of it. And now it's just focusing on to trying to match that energy and, push on in my career to, hopefully be very much like him.
And tell us, what might a shift involve? Like, are there some dishes that you take care of or some of the prep? And, tell us about some of, the particular things that you do and then the kinds of skills and knowledge that you're picking up as you go.
Yeah, I think, like any industry and like any chef at any chef level, dishes is always going to be, something we have to do as much as nobody likes doing them. I think, but that's about paying your dues in the business. And, I'll help out with the kitchen, the kitchen hands and clean dishes and always cleaning. And that's, I guess, paramount about having a successful restaurant is how clean it helps prepare not only for when you work but it just shows you that level of respect that you have on a daily basis. For us, it's all different things. I'm currently working in the larder section at the moment, and for those, I guess, who don't know what larder is just the cold food section. So like oysters, that sort of stuff that we're working in, and it just varies. We all take on different roles, and it's I guess what Neil has really taught me the most is just about having that information on your products that you're selling. It's not just an oyster that you've got on your plate, but you've got like a Wapango oyster, where that's coming from and how you can tell the difference, and the difference between like a $20 piece of fish to a $200 piece of fish. So I think that's that's really, really, really touching the core of it, and how to, I think it's what develops your career further.
What do you like? What actually took you to Margaret?
Yeah, look, following, I've been following Neil's work for quite some time since a young age, and I remember telling him, I used to watch you on the Lifestyle channel back in '04, and he's like, oh, making me feel my age, of course. And again, I was in primary school at that time. So I was just sort of, been watching him on television from, as a kid. His name very well known within Australia, of course. And I think for me, it's just now for me, it's, going to the pinnacle and training under some of the best that Australia has to offer to help for me to develop my career further on down the track.
Yeah, so good. And what about culinary school? Like, how does that sort of fit into this practical work that you're doing in the field? Do you feel like it's given you a lot of the basis for what you're doing? Does it feel relevant to the contemporary kitchen? You give us an insight there.
Yeah, culinary schools, I think it's the very small fraction of your career. You definitely learn the very basics, and I guess you learn the very basics of the business. So you're learning those knife skills, you're learning kitchen safety, kitchen hygiene, and for me, it just gives you that breakdown structure of what to expect and what to experience. It gives you the raw end deal of the business, and it's definitely helped a lot. But nothing compares to the real on the job training, what we're doing at the moment. So
good. And I know that you've got plans to head to London next year. Can you tell us about that? That sounds super exciting.
Yeah, so the university I'm partnered with has offered students to do placement overseas. Unfortunately, the placement was closed off the last 2 years due to COVID restrictions, but they've both opened back up again now, and they do exchange programs with hotels or other restaurants. And I was very successful to land a placement in the Goring Hotel over in London, and that'll be commencing next year, where I'll head over for about a 6-month placement period as part of my culinary training. And then the aim from there is just to, I guess, build my networks, and hopefully, the end result is to end up at one of Ramsay's restaurants, I think, is the end deal of what I'm chasing.
Oh my goodness, Jacob, that's so exciting. Yeah, I mean, is that again someone that you've watched and idolised over the course of your life?
Yeah, absolutely. Going back over, I think for me where it started from is I've always been a fan of Marco Pierre White, and a lot of people who don't know who that is, well, if it wasn't for him, you wouldn't have had Ramsay. So, idolising Pierre White and then following Ramsay's career for over the last, decade, like 10 to 15 years, and seeing that grow from watching him on, MasterChef or his, kitchen nightmares or hotel nightmares has been, really exciting, whether it be reading his books or going through, watching his YouTube series, just everything, like nitpicking what he does and, writing it down and trying to incorporate that into, my training as well, has been, an experience. But yeah, I think that's the end goal for me, is to work under Ramsay in the near future.
Awesome. Well, I just from the way you say it, I just know it's going to happen. So that's really exciting. Video, TV, that's been something that you've engaged with really early in your cooking life. You started a YouTube channel really early on, and you've obviously watched a lot of chefs on TV. Tell us about your ambitions in that arena.
Yeah, well, I just started the YouTube, and it was during the COVID period. Unfortunately, a lot of the restaurants closed down over that period, and we were just sitting at home and sort of twiddling our thumbs. So I took the advantage to go, let's keep pushing through instead of sitting around, and build my persona and who I am, and start showcasing what I can do to the world. And yeah, that's how that come about. And for me, it's, I get the enjoyment out of, teaching people or showing people the difference, or just a different technique that they can use to make their cooking, 10 times better, whether it be, adding a simple ingredient or changing the product itself. But yeah, for me to go in that arena is something, I guess I'm sort of chasing as well. I definitely want to stay away from that title of celebrity chef, but yeah, absolutely want to be, have that work out there. I want to have my work out there, and hopefully, in the next couple of years, we have that young chef who's just coming into the kitchen and he's watching my videos, feeling inspired.
I love that. That's so good. Tell us about how you got into food in the first place, Jacob. Was it a big part of your life growing up?
Yeah, absolutely. So food is definitely a big part, a part of my culture as well. And, we always associated things around food, whether that be, different things like weddings or, there'd be deaths or, get-togethers with families or something. It was always associated around food. But I think the core part of it was definitely with my nan. I have a lot of fond memories with nan where I'd be baking. So nan would always bake treats every afternoon. You'd always come home, it'd be either scones, a tea cake, biscuits, absolutely anything. And I remember being a kid just being amazed at, this lady still, pushing through in the kitchen and just using this old style recipe. And I remember she had the old Women's Weekly booklets. Now these were the old ones that are like stained yellow and old measurements and everything through it. And I was very fortunate that she's given me all those books to continue on. But I guess that's where it really started, was cooking and baking with Nan from the very start. And that was as young as 5. I remember as young as 5 doing that.
And what about, taking it into that more serious career angle? Like, was there a sort of light bulb moment for you there where you're like, oh, I can turn this into a job? What happened?
So I think, from during childhood and right up to high school, I, loved cooking. I was doing that at home. Our school didn't offer it at the time, so I was sort of, I guess, disappointed. And I didn't really know what I wanted to do once I left high school. I think a lot of people had, plans that they were going to university or they were going to do this trade. But unfortunately, for a good period of time, for a good about, I'd say about 4 years, I was in and out of jobs because I wasn't happy. I don't know what it was. I wasn't happy. I was trying to chase something and I just didn't have that feeling. But it wasn't until, I guess, the end of 2018, early 2019, I just got that spark back again and took the position, took it more seriously and pursued that career.
That's so interesting. And it sounds like it's really clicked for you, like you really feel like you're on the right path.
Yeah, absolutely. I used to dread. I'd be like, I'm so old in this industry. You hear about all those young chefs that were starting at like 16 or something in the kitchen, and I didn't start until I was about 23. So I used to beat myself up a lot about it. But I guess it's sort of I was more appreciative now because going back to when I was 17, 18, just leaving school, I don't think I would have stuck it out. I think I would have, done 12 months and would have given it away because back then, I guess I didn't have any self-control in what I wanted to do. I was just, trying to experience life at that young age. And, didn't know what to achieve. But now it's, set in. It's, and it's given me a new hope on life, I guess. It's a new hope on a new direction in life.
Yeah, it's so lovely to hear. And FYI, 24 is really young and life is long. So, you got a lot ahead of you. What about being a First Nations man? Like, how does that sort of play into the way you think about food and I suppose, your career path?
Yeah, it's good. It's I can now bring those ingredients and those native ingredients and the unique recipes to the table to help introduce other chefs to them as well. So I think over the last sort of 5 years we've been seeing the introduction of native ingredients more at restaurants. We're seeing lemon myrtle being used. We're seeing things like desert limes, finger limes, all that sort of stuff being incorporated. And I think bringing that and having the knowledge on the product itself to execute it in a dish or on a menu is it's very good. It's good to know, and it's good to introduce the world to. I think it's showing that Australia does have a cuisine. We're not just a meat pie and a cold beer anymore. Yeah,
I think also sometimes I think people don't think about seafood as an Indigenous ingredient, but all that wild caught seafood, the Sydney rock oysters, like they're so special. And I know that there's a lot of that really incredible native seafood that's served at Margaret. It must be wonderful to work with some of those ingredients.
Yeah, exactly right. It's these products. They're not just something that's been around for the last 20 years or so. These are things that have been around, for almost 200 years before. Of course, like European settlement, like this was a strong part of the indigenous diet was the seafood, especially for a lot of the tribes that lived on the coast and around the water. And now seeing it is continued on 200 years later and still ongoing is just surreal. And of course, working with it and serving it to the world, I guess I guess it's breathtaking. It's an interesting insight into it, and it's good. It's good to serve that sort of quality and continue to do it. With that, I guess with that information now, and encouraging and educating other chefs on that product. That they didn't know. I think that was the key as well.
As you're sort of soaking up every bit of knowledge and skill that you can at Margaret, Jacob, is there something that you're trying to perfect at the moment? Like whether it's, filleting something or chopping something or a sauce, like what are the things that you see around you that you're like, oh, I can't wait till I'm like, can ace that?
Yeah, it's definitely shucking oysters at the moment. Like it sounds so simple, but I had never done one in my life before I started working there. And I remember just working that first shift shucking oysters. I think my hand had that many holes from missing the oyster, and it's just going straight in, to now where I'm more like, okay, I've got one or two holes in my hand, or I've got a tea towel wrapped around it. It's not, walking out and looking like a slice of Swiss cheese and that. So I think it's mastering that at the moment, and of course, always working on the basics. You can always fall back on your basics.
Yeah, love that. And what's the atmosphere in the kitchen like at Margaret, just in terms of having the time to be shown things and, I guess, the freedom to make mistakes, which inevitably will happen?
Yeah, it's good. It's good. You're not working in that old school environment where if you made a mistake, somebody's launching a pot at you, or, who's screaming at you. It's good. It's a good positive environment where, you might make a mistake on a dish or way you present it, and one of the senior chefs might pull you aside and explain why, it'd be better, the way they've corrected it, or, this is the better technique, or this is how it's going to help you next time to improve it. And I guess like any mistake is just, learning from it is the key thing in that kitchen. But it's just all around positive, like a great atmosphere to be in, and I think that's good moving forward in a modern kitchen and modern society now.
Yeah, because it's funny hearing you talk about, Gordon Ramsay kitchen nightmares and all that kind of vibe, but then thinking about, well, you don't really want to live in that environment, do you?
No, exactly right. And, I think we're definitely shifting away from that environment now. Yeah, definitely in these recent times, we're definitely shifting away from that toxic environment.
And Jacob, just finally, like, what would you say to young people that are thinking about getting into cooking as a career? Do you have any tips for people how to approach it, and what kind of mindset to take into it?
Yeah, I think there's a few that I guess I would have loved somebody to tell me, and definitely would be good experience, at any stage in your career, in your life. For the industry, a lot of people come in and they're not prepared for the hours or the commitment that they have to make for it. So many people get caught up watching the reality TV programs and thinking that, oh, hey, I can do this, or I'm going to be able to do that, and will be, I guess, brought down to earth really quickly when you got to find out the first 3 months or even longer of your career, you're scrubbing dishes, or you're cleaning pots, or you're washing potatoes, or you're chopping vegetables, or picking that sort of stuff. So I think it's and I think it's definitely get experience in that sector, and it doesn't have to be in the kitchen. It could be whether you're at a bar, a cafe, front of house, just so you're used to that environment. And I guess separating that reality you see on TV is probably my advice as well. Is what you see on TV is a very small percentage of what you're going to get in the industry. And I think that's the biggest advice somebody should have given me at that time.
Yeah, bit of us have a bit of a softer landing. Even though the work is hard, at least you know what you're in for to some degree.
Yeah, exactly right. I think the biggest thing that a lot of people get confused on is the sacrifices that you have to make. You look at some of our, restaurants, we're just starting on a Thursday while everyone's week winding down, and, you got to give up your Saturday where somebody, some of your friends are probably out having, doing something. They might be partying or, might be doing it like going to that festival or going to, something that they enjoy, and you're not there to experience it with them because you're going to be stuck at that work doing those hours. So I think that's very strong. So if you're somebody who likes to party or doesn't like to give up those hours or that thing, I think you may need to just sort of reflect on it, see if it's really the industry for you.
Well, what are the rewards for you then, given that you are making those sacrifices?
Yeah, I think the knowledge, I think education is key to it all. The stuff I'm learning is, not only just kitchen skills, but the skills of, communicating, being, self-management, structured and, time management. It goes on to any position, whether you were to leave that industry, you can take that on into a new career, you can take that onto a new role. But again, it can land you in places, like in London for me in the next couple of years, or you can end up anywhere around the world training and working because I guess, everyone's got to eat. So it'll be an industry that's, not going to die very soon.
Yeah, well, that's such an amazing perspective. Yeah, absolutely love it. Jacob, such a pleasure to chat to you. Is there anything else that you'd like to say today?
No, just good luck to everyone out there who's looking to start a career in cooking. Calm those nerves down and, just go ahead, just have a shot at it.
Love it. Really great. Really inspiring. And you've put a smile on my face. It's been great to listen to everything you've said about the industry and where you're at. So all the best. Make sure you stay in touch. I can't wait to follow your progress, Jacob.
Excellent. Appreciate your time.
This is Dirty Linen, and I'm Dani Valent. We air the issues that the hospitality industry finds hard to talk about, hearing from different people with unique perspectives. We want to hear from you as well. If you have something that needs to be said about a topic, get in touch so we can include your perspective. Contact us at dirtylinen@deepintheweeds.com.au or hit us up on Insta at Dirty Linen Podcast. We can't wait to hear from you.